Do you know what is scatter plot?
A scatter plot is a graph of the ordered pairs x and y of numbers consisting of the independent variable x and the dependent variable y. The independent and dependent variables can be plotted on a graph. The independent variable x is plotted on the horizontal axis and the dependent variable y is plotted on the vertical axis. Now, there are two steps in plotting a scatter plot. First, draw and label the x and y axis. Second, plot each point. Example: construct a scatter plot for the data obtained in a revenue in billions and car in 10,000s from selected car rental companies. First step, draw and label the x and y axis. Second step, plot each point on the graph.
Correlation coefficient. Statisticians use a measure called correlation coefficient to determine the strength of the linear relationship between two variables. There are several types of correlation coefficients, but one is explained in the section called the product moment correlation coefficient, or PPMC, named after statistician Karl Pearson. Here is the symbol for correlation coefficient, the symbol letter R. The range of correlation coefficient is -1 to +1. If the value of R is close to +1, there is a strong positive linear relationship between the variables. If it is close to -1, there is a strong negative relationship between the variables. Then, if it is close to 0, there is weak or no relationship between the variables. We can round the value of R to 3 decimal places. Here is a formula for correlation coefficient. The formula looks somewhat complicated, but using the table to compute this, it will be easier for us to determine the value of R.
Example, car rental companies. Step 1. Make a table as shown here.
After we make this table, we are now going to find the summation of the following. So here it has to find the summation of x, summation of y. So to find the summation of x, we are going to add the following values. So 63.0 plus 29.0 plus 20.8 plus 19.1 plus 13.4 plus 8.5 is equals to 153.8. So same process with x, we're just going to add the values of the y. So 7.0 plus 3.9 plus 2.1 plus 2.8 plus 1.4 plus 1.5 is equals to 18.7. And to find the value of x and y, we're just going to times the x and y. So 63 times 7.0 is equals to 441.0, and then 29.0 times 3.9 is equals to 113.10. Then 20.8 times 2.1 is equals to 43.68, and 53.48, 13.4 plus 1.4 is equals to 18.76, and 8.5 times 1.5 is equals to 2.75. Then we're just going to add this all to get the summation of x and y. So the total is 682.77. So to find the value of x squared, we're just going to square these values. So 63 squared is equals to 3,969. You can use calculator half. So 29 squared is equals to 841, and 20.8 squared is equals to 432.64. 19.1 squared is 364.1. 13 squared 1679.56, and 8.5 squared is equals to 72.25. And to get the summation of x squared, add them all, and the result is 5,859.26. So to find the y squared, same process with x squared, so we're just going to square this one. So 49.00, 3.9 squared is equals to 15.21, 2.1 is equals to 4.41, 2.9 squared is equals to 7.84, 1.4 squared is equals to 1.96, 1.5 squared is equals to 2.25. To get the summation of y squared, we're going to add this all. So 49 plus 15.21 plus 4.41 plus 7.84 plus 1.96 plus 2.25 is equals to 80.67. So the next step, we will going to distribute these summations into our formula. And now we are tasked to find the n, or the number of our population. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, and they are all 6. Then the summation of x and y is equals to 682.77. And then the summation of x, which is the 153.8. And then the summation of y, the 18.7. And the summation, the population, which is the 6, and the summation of squared, x squared, is equals to 5,859.26. The summation of x, so we have 153.8. And then the population, which is the 6, and then the summation of y squared, which is the 80.67. Summation of y, which is the 18.7, then squared. So using the calculator, we will be able to find the correlation coefficient, which is 0.982, rounded by 3 decimal places.
Since the correlation coefficient is 0.982, which is closest to positive 1, it is therefore suggests a strong relationship between the car's rental agency has and its annual income.
The significance of the correlation coefficient. The range of the correlation coefficient is from -1 to +1. If there is a strong positive linear relationship between the variables, the value of r will be close to +1. If there is a strong negative linear relationship between the variables, the value of r will be close to -1. When the value of r is near 0, the linear relationship is weak or non-existent. As the value of r is computed from the data obtained from samples, there are 2 possibles where r is not equal to 0. To find out the relationship, we have the formula. Formula for the t-test for the correlations coefficient. T equals r square root of n minus 2 over 1 minus r squared, where r equals correlation coefficient, n is the total number of observation, n minus 2 equals degree of freedom. There are 5 steps. Step 1. State the hypothesis. Step 2. Find the critical values. Step 3. Compute the test value. Step 4. Make the decision. Step 5. Summarize the results. Example 2. Test the significance of the correlation coefficients found in the example 1. Use alpha equals 0.05 and r equals 0.982. So, alpha is given in the problem and r is the total came from the example 1. Step 1. State the hypothesis. There are two hypotheses. First is the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis means that there is no correlations between x and y variables in the populations. An alternative hypothesis means that there is a significant correlations between the variables in the populations. When the null hypothesis is rejected, it means that there is a significant difference between the value of r and 0. If the null hypothesis is not rejected, it means that the value of x is not significantly different from 0 and is due to chance. Step 2. Find the critical value. As you can see in the right side, the table of the level of significance. First, find the degree of freedom, n minus 2. N is the total number of the observation, which is 6. So 6 minus 2 equals 4. 4 is the degree of freedom. Next, get the alpha. So the alpha is given, which is 0.05. So in the table, alpha is 0.025 because we have two tails. To get the 0.025, you need to divide 0.05 over 2 equals 0.025. And then we can coincide the two. So we get the critical value, which is 2.776. Compute the t-test. So t-test formula is t equals r square root of n minus 2 over 1 minus r squared. So r equals 0.982 square root of 6 minus 2 over 1 minus 0.982 squared equals 10.4. 4. Make the decision. So the null hypothesis is rejected since the test value falls in the critical region. Step 5. Summarize the result. It is concluded that there is a significant relationship between the number of cars a rental agency owns and its annual income. The end of our topic. Thank you for watching and God bless.